The United States military operates on a scale that is almost impossible to comprehend. Every year, tens of billions of dollars are poured into systems designed for one purpose: survival and dominance in the harshest conditions on Earth. We're talking about machines that can cross oceans without refueling, aircraft that can remain invisible in contested airspace, logistics networks that can sustain human life in environments where survival should not even be possible. But here's the part that almost never gets talked about, because buried underneath all of that complexity is something incredibly simple. Some of the most reliable, most field-tested survival tools used by soldiers are not high-tech, they're not expensive, and they're not even designed for the military. They're everyday objects, cheap ones, the kind you can find in a regular store, sitting on a shelf, completely ignored. And yet those same objects have kept people alive in jungles, deserts, and frozen mountains. Before we get into the list, you need to understand a mindset, because without it, this entire concept won't make sense. The military does not build survival systems around perfection, that it builds them around failure. Everything fails. Eventually, batteries die, gear breaks, weather changes, plans collapse. So instead of asking, what is the best tool for this job, the real question becomes, what still works when everything else stops working? That is where simple, multi-purposed items become more valuable than specialized gear, because when one function fails, another takes its place. That is not convenience, that is survival. Item 1. Pencil eraser. At first glance, it looks useless, a soft piece of rubber meant to erase mistakes on paper, but in field conditions, the problem is not writing, it's connection. Metal contacts, battery terminals, radio connectors, charging points are constantly exposed to moisture, dust, and air. Over time, they develop a microscopic layer of corrosion. You can't always see it, but it's enough to interrupt an electrical signal. Your device looks fine. The battery is charged, but nothing works. That thin invisible layer becomes the difference between communication and silence. A pencil eraser solves that. Its texture is just abrasive enough to remove oxidation without damaging the metal underneath. No tools, no chemicals, no replacements, just pressure, friction, and a few seconds of effort. And suddenly, a dead device comes back to life in a controlled environment. That's a minor fix. In a survival situation, that can be the difference between isolation and rescue. Item 2. Unlubricated condoms. Flexibility is one of the most underrated survival traits, not just in people but in tools. A rigid container is useful until it breaks. A complex system is powerful until it fails. But something flexible adapts. That's where this item stands. Out, lightweight, compact, expandable. A single unit can hold a significant amount of water when needed. It can seal out moisture, protect sensitive items, or act as a barrier against environmental contamination. Its material stretches without tearing easily and conforms to whatever shape is required in extreme conditions. That adaptability becomes more valuable than strength, because survival is not about perfect solutions, it's about working solutions. Item 3. Tampons. This is where perception becomes a problem, because most people judge tools based on what they are labeled as, instead of what they can actually do. But in survival situations, labels disappear. Only function matters. This item is compact, sterile, and engineered for absorption. It expands under pressure, it fills space, and it controls fluid. Those properties make it useful in ways most people never consider. It can assist in managing bleeding. It can be broken apart into fibers that ignite easily. It can act as a basic filtration layer. Even its small the attached cord can repurposed. It's not about what it was made for, it's about what it can do when nothing else is available. Item 4. Baby wipes. There is a misconception about survival. People imagine dramatic moments, fire, shelter, hunting, but real survival often comes down to something far less exciting. Maintenance. Your body, your skin, your equipment. In extreme environments, dirt is not just uncomfortable, it becomes dangerous. It leads to infection. It reduces efficiency. It damages gear without proper cleaning. Small problems turn into serious ones. A simple wipe becomes a tool for hygiene, medical, cleaning equipment, care, environmental adaptation. It's not glamorous, but it prevents slow failure. And in long-term scenarios, preventing failure is everything. Item 5. Lip balm. At a glance, it feels like a comfort item, something optional, something you can live without, but look closer at its composition. Wax, oils, a semi-solid barrier. That combination creates something far more useful than it appears. It reduces friction, seals surfaces, protects against moisture loss. And under the right conditions, it can even act as a fuel source. Applied to skin, it prevents damage. Applied to materials, it reduces wear. Combined with fibers, it sustains flame. It's not just protection, it's adaptability in a compact form. Item 6. Waxed. Dental floss. Strength does not always come from size. Sometimes it comes from structure. Thin strands, tightly constructed, coated for durability. This creates something lightweight, but surprisingly resilient. It resists water, it handles tension, and it can be deployed in multiple ways, repairing torn materials, binding components together, acting as line for basic food gathering, supporting small loads. Length multiplies its usefulness, because one small spool contains more usable material than most people realize. In survival, versatility scales with quantity. And this item provides both. Item 7. Carpenter. Pencil's reliability is often boring, and that's exactly why it works. No ink. No springs. No moving parts. Solid material. It writes in conditions where other tools fail. Wet surfaces, rough textures, unstable environments. Its shape prevents it from rolling away. Its structure allows it to be reshaped with basic tools, and beyond writing, it becomes material. Wood that can be shaved. Fuel that can ignite. The simple object that transitions from tool to resource. Item 8. Heavy-duty aluminum. Foil. Few materials combine as many properties. In one form, it reflects, it resists heat. It bends without breaking, and it holds shape when needed. That combination allows it to become whatever the situation demands. A container, a cooking surface. A heat reflector, signaling device. It adapts to the environment instead of resisting it, and that adaptability makes it one of the most efficient tools you can carry. Item 9. Safety pins. Small tools often solve big problems because they operate in places larger tools cannot. This item provides faster repairs, secure fastening, structural improvisation, but more importantly, it transforms. It can be reshaped, repositioned. Reposed. It turns failure points into temporary solutions, and in survival, temporary solutions are often what keep you going long enough to find a permanent one. Item 10. Liquid bleach. At the most basic level, survival depends on one thing. Water. Not comfort, not gear. Water. But water is also one of the biggest risks because contamination is invisible, and unsafe water leads to rapid decline. This is where chemistry becomes survival. A small, controlled amount of a common household substance can neutralize harmful organisms, transforming unsafe water into something usable. It doesn't require complex equipment. It doesn't depend on power. Just knowledge, proportion, and time. In terms of cost versus impact, very few tools come close. Item 11. Electrical tape. Not all problems are rigid. Some move, some flex, some change shape under stress. That's where this tool becomes essential. It stretches, it conforms. It maintains contact under movement that makes it ideal for wrapping injuries, securing materials on joints, insulating exposed connections, sealing vulnerable points where other materials fail under motion. This one adapts. And that difference matters more than most people realize. Final perspective. When you step back and look at all of this together, it becomes clear that survival, it is not about having the most advanced tools, it's about having the most adaptable ones. Because real conditions are unpredictable. They don't follow plans. They don't respect preparation. They expose weaknesses, and they reward flexibility. These items are not impressive. They don't look powerful, but they work. And in the end, that's the only thing that matters.